Hey everybody, I'm Psychroclasm, and this is Play Dead, a visual novel that... It's like Scooby-Doo, but Scooby-Doo was the ghost the whole time. I told you we should have checked the oil before we left! It's not the oil, it's the radiator, jackass. Well, if you know so much about cars, then you fix it! Do I look like a fucking mechanic to you? Well, with all those tattoos... You leave my tattoos out of this, or I swear to God I will shave your dumb shit hipster beard in your sleep. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I absently swung my baseball cap around to face backwards, ignoring my bandmates' bickering as I walked down the crumbling road, holding my phone in the air in search of a modicum of cell service. Brian and Savannah had been at it for the better part of 20 minutes while staring at the steaming mess of mechanisms under the hood of our van. It's not an old van, per se, but it's not new either, and it's taken a beating from being dragged all over the country by a quartet of irresponsible 20-somethings. Oh, before I get too far into this, hi, I'm Corey, and I'm in a pop-punk band called Stop Thief. Or what you might call up-and-coming, which means we're super broke and basically homeless, and our families question our life choices a lot, but sometimes people say they like our music, and that makes us happy. Anyway, we're called something else originally, but then... this whole thing happened. Ever since, life on the road has been weird, to put it mildly. I finally stopped about 100 feet up the road, taking in our surroundings. There were woods to one side with large pine trees looming over the cracking pavement and a deep ravine to the other. Fog was settling over the valley, obscuring the mountains in the distance. I thought we were somewhere in West Virginia, but I'd been in the middle of a pretty great nap when the van broke down, so I wasn't sure. Didn't see any road signs around to confirm or deny my suspicions, and Google Maps is pretty useless without a cell tower nearby. It was then that I realized that something was off. There were only 3 of us standing on the side of the road like idiots, not 4. Hey guys, where's Caleb? Savannah and Brian hit pause on their argument. I thought he was in the van. She walked around the van, flinging open the sliding side door and poking her head inside. Shit. Oh, don't tell me he ran off somewhere. Brian sighed, scratching his beard. There's probably bears or something in these woods. Savannah had now climbed into the van and was frantically searching under the seats behind suitcases, muttering curses. We should probably look for him. Hey, Savannah, see if there's any flashlights in there. I think I stashed 1 or 2 in that box behind the back seat. Look at you, thinking ahead. I began crawling into the van to help Savannah. Well, someone has to be the adult supervision here. Brian only grunted in response, thankfully not commenting on the fact that he was, in fact, older than me. Just as I pulled the second of 2 flashlights out of a cardboard box buried under Caleb's suitcase, there was a scream and the loud thud of something hitting the van from outside. Savannah and I rushed out to find Brian sitting on the ground next to the tire. Fucking shit, Caleb, don't sneak up on me like that! Caleb, who was standing over him with a mildly startled look, started to laugh. Man, you jumped real high. Were you trying to get over the hood of the van? Never mind him, where were you? You can't just run off like that, who knows what's out there? Okay, yeah, but I found something cool. It's worth noting that Savannah, despite hating pretty much everyone, especially Brian, has a weird sibling-y affection for Caleb that she has for no one else. Good God. Words. I'm guessing it's just because they grew up together, but also I've met kindergartners with a higher degree of maturity and impulse control than Caleb, so someone has to watch out for him. Oh yeah? Where? In the woods! Oh no, we're not going in there. It's a house, though. There might be people we can ask for help. Brian, Savannah, and I exchanged looks. Well, it's worth a shot. Is it, though? I sighed and began following Caleb into the forest, clicking a flashlight. Just come on. We wandered through the sparse underbrush, something I chalked up to having the trick... Words. English. The language I speak. We wandered through the sparse underbrush, something I chalked up to the thick tree cover. It was just reaching dusk outside the woods, but inside it might as well have been midnight. I wouldn't have been able to see 5 feet in front of my face without the flashlight. It was also strangely quiet. No animal cries, no insects buzzing, no background music, no leaves rustling. Even our footsteps were muffled by a soft greenish-brown moss that coated the ground.
This is eerie as shit. We should go back.
What, you scared?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. You probably should be too.
We're almost there. Pretty much as soon as he said it, the structure came into view. It was a log cabin home, 2 stories with a front porch and what looked like the remnants of a driveway leading up to it. There were no lights on inside.
Who puts a house way out here anyway?
Someone who doesn't want to be bothered, probably.
Then maybe, I don't know, we shouldn't bother them?
Brian is on point here, though. And what, hitchhike to the nearest town?
I'd rather take my chances with that.
Are you sure there's even someone in there? It looks pretty abandoned.
Yeah, I definitely saw someone moving around through the window.
Before any of us could protest, Caleb had jogged up to the porch and was knocking on the door. When he got no response, he knocked harder.
Hey, anyone home? Caleb, stop that. You're gonna get us...
Brian abruptly fell silent when the door swung open with a creak. We peered inside at the dark, empty room beyond.
Huh, guess it was open.
It doesn't look like anyone's home.
Maybe they're upstairs. Come on.
He waltzed through the door with no hesitation whatsoever.
Caleb, you can't just wander into other people's houses.
The door was open. He quickly disappeared from sight in the dark house. The remaining 3 of us just let out a collective groan and followed him inside. I really don't think anyone's home. Savannah ran her finger through the thick coating of dust on the nearby bookshelf. The place smelled musty, with notes of old people and roadkill. Why is there still so much stuff here? It looks like someone left all of a sudden. I wandered into the kitchen.
Ew. What?
Brian walked up behind me.
Ew.
On the table was something that looked like it had once been a bowl of fruit, but it had since decomposed into a pile of dusty goop. There were a handful of dead flies around it. What do you think happened to the people that lived here? Savannah entered the kitchen and began to open cabinets. She wrinkled her nose as she peered into one below the counter. Ugh, gross, dead rat. Then she made a movement as if to smack a fly on her arm, but looked confused when she pulled her hand away and nothing was there. Must have missed it. She shut the cabinet, then flung it open again, looking inside. What the... What? I thought I heard something, and the rat's gone.
The dead one?
I mean, I thought it was dead. It was skin and bones and wasn't moving. Maybe it was napping. I guess?
I feel like this is the part where we find a body, like a human one.
Please don't say that. Hey, I'm just being... Brian was cut off by a sharp scream and a thump from upstairs. We exchanged panicked looks before scrambling up the stairs to where we'd heard Caleb's yell. We rushed in the bedroom, fist up. The dynamic action pose. Superheroes, teenagers busting in the fucking door. We rushed into the bedroom, fists up, where Caleb was sitting on the floor and staring wide-eyed at something. What is it? What happened? Oh, sad. I didn't think we'd actually see this part. Bryden suddenly took a step backwards, pointing to something on the end of the bed. What the hell is that? I think it's a dog. Or it was. Oh, wow, we get a closer up of it. Great. The pile of bones curled up in the end of the bed was vaguely canine-shaped and still had a bit of dried, dusty skin sticking to it. There was a dark stain on the blanket underneath it, and a faded red collar hung around its skeletal neck. Do you think it just got left behind? At this point, Caleb had recovered as well and was standing back up and wandering closer to the creature. Don't touch it! That's kind of sad, isn't it? Little guy must have been waiting for his master to come home. I know! Okay, yes, it's sad. Can we please leave now? Obviously, we're not going to get any help from this place. Yeah, for once, I actually think Brian's right. Let's go. As Savannah, Brian, and I began to file out of the room, I glanced back at Caleb, who didn't appear to be following. Caleb, you coming? Huh? Oh, yeah. He quickly spun around to face me and began to follow. I thought I saw him shove something in his pocket, but I didn't think anything of it at the time. What the fuck did you shove in your pocket, you creepy bitch? That was a mistake. We paraded back downstairs and re-entered the living room. This place is super weird. Savannah shuffled her feet on the dingy carpet. It was too soft in a squishy, rotted kind of way.
I think weird is an understatement.
Let's just go back to the van. We began walking towards the door. Suddenly it slammed shut, blocking our escape route.
What the fuck?
A strong wind picked up in the room, blowing dust and loose decor everywhere. A strange noise could be heard behind the gale. It sounded like barking.
What the hell is this?
Savannah yelled over the wind, shielding her face from flying debris.
How should I know? Shit!
My baseball cap blew off my head and joined the items swirling about the room. I grabbed at it, but missed. Instead, it flew in a different direction and hovered above the floor. As the wind died down, something slowly came into focus where the hat was hovering. Okay, I'm fine now. I'm not sad about the dog anymore. This dog lives forever. This is a good thing. It was somewhat transparent, appearing as pale bluish color, and had 4 paws, wagging tail, and muzzle wrapped around the bill of the cap.
Is that a dog?
I think it was a dog. I remained still, wide-eyed gaze fixed on the incorporeal canine. You did not just take my hat. The dog wagged its tail a little bit harder. Oh, I love it. It's a pretty baby. I pointed at the ground. Drop it. Now. The dog crouched down in a playful stance. I mean it, Mutt. Drop the hat. He's taking in this ghost dog thing, like, really well. I took a step forward. The dog had hopped to the side of it, tail wagging so fast it was little more than a blur. With a war cry, I launched myself at the dog, who deftly leapt out of the way and took off running with the hat. Ha! Stop, thief. Ha ha, that's cute. Now, I know this seems like a bit of an overreaction for a hat, but well, first of all, it was my favorite hat, and it's well worn to the point where there are tears forming around the edges of the bill, which I didn't want exacerbated by a ghost dog slobber. Second, the hat is just my thing. I feel naked without it. It's a long story, don't ask questions.
Should we stop him?
Brian tried to follow the movements as the dog quite literally flew past him with me close behind. I don't really know what we should do. There's not actually a precedent for this situation. I made a dive for the dog and nearly crashed into the coffee table. Caleb, meanwhile, was laughing gleefully at the display. I finally managed to corner the mutt in the kitchen against the cabinets. It hopped back and forth playfully, wagging its tail again. I made a grab for it and the dog jumped right through me. If this dog has a voice, I'm gonna be freaking the fuck out, especially if it's fucking Dracula. Honestly, I didn't know what else I expected. The good news is that the hat was in fact a physical object that existed in our reality and did not pass through with the dog. Instead, it harmlessly smacked me in the chest before falling to the ground. I snatched it up before the mutt could take it back and ran back into the living room. Alright, crisis averted. Let's get out of here before I have to process what just happened. Made a beeline for the door, grabbed the handle, and tried to turn it, and couldn't. Tried jiggling it again, then tried to turn the lock, and it wouldn't budge. Oh, come on! Savannah peered out a window, squinting a bit. Hey, guys? Don't look now, but I think someone just came home. Completely disregarding her advice, we all gathered around the living room window where an ancient pickup truck had just appeared in the driveway. Its back fender had appeared to have rusted off, and there was a large crack in the windshield. A figure was getting out of it, though it was hard to make out any details in the dark. Oh no, they crashed, and then the doggy was alone. What do? We can't just stay here. Oh, sorry, that was Brian. He's got the weird nasally Sonic voice. Well, the door's locked, so I don't know where you expect us to go. I said this despite frantically searching for an exit myself. Then there was the sound of a key entering the lock from outside, and we all froze. Yep. I'm not sure I would describe the thing that entered a house as a human exactly. It might have been once, but now not so much. It resembled an old man, but sported dry, grayish skin pulled tightly over bones and was covered in dirt and fungus. Its clothes, meanwhile, were rotted to the point where they were practically fused to the skin. Most noticeably, the thing was missing almost half of its left side of its face, a hole filled in with black slime and mushrooms taking its place. The remaining eye socket was dark and empty, and a powerful stench of rot and decay emanated from the creature. None of us moved. None of us even breathed, which is great because fungus puts off spores. The presumably undead man shuffled into the house, a hoarse whistle escaping his dried lips. I noticed the ghost dog was still around, albeit cowering under the table with its tail tucked between its legs. The mushroom-covered zombie shuffled toward the kitchen, leaving the door open behind him. I gave Savannah, Brian, and Caleb a meaningful look indicating the door. They all nodded slightly, also trying not to make any sudden moves. I put up 3 fingers and began counting down. 3, 2, 1. The undead creature suddenly turned with surprising speed, lunging in our direction with a raspy howl. Savannah, ever the quickest on her feet, smashed a vase over its head, knocking it off balance long enough for the 4 of us to make it out the door in what felt like one giant leap. We hit the porch and proceeded to crash through the woods, stumbling over tree roots and kicking up clumps of moss along the way. Finally, we erupted back onto the road, the van still sitting right where we left it. Savannah panted as she spun around, scanning the trees. What the actual fuck was that? I don't know, but I can tell you I'm never eating mushrooms again. I leaned over with my hands on my knees to catch my breath. Let's just get back in the van.
What, our van that doesn't go anywhere? What if that thing comes out here?
Do you have a better idea?
I don't know, start walking?
To where? Do you even know where we are?
Pennsylvania? Probably.
Yeah, that inspires confidence.
Guys, look.
He pointed down the road where 2 pinpricks of light were available and growing larger. Is it not daytime yet? It looks like daytime.
Oh god, what if it's that rusty pickup? It could be that monster.
As the vehicle got closer, it turned out that it was in fact a pickup truck, but a much newer one than the dilapidated jalopy in the woods. The driver was a stocky, bearded 30-something with a wad of chewing tobacco under his lip, and not only stopped but offered to take a look at our van after Caleb ignored Brian's protests and waved him down. I'm absolutely the Brian in this situation. Like, I know he's an asshole who's not getting anything accomplished, but I'm still that guy. As he poked around under the hood, we were informed that we were a few miles outside of Wheeling, West Virginia, which was admittedly fairly close to Pennsylvania. It ain't your radiator, it's his belt came loose. Why is the belt steaming? I don't know enough about cars to know if that's a thing. Man pointed at the innards of the van as if any of us knew what we were looking at. Let me get some tools out of my truck, I'll get you fixed up. We breathed a collective sigh of relief and agreed to stop in a town and blow what little money we had on a couple of hotel rooms for the night. The man chatted idly as he worked on the van. Probably best you don't hang around these parts anyway. There's a legend about this mountain. It says the forest don't like things living in it, especially people. And anyone that tries, well, they wind up cursed, existing in a state between life and death. He paused, scratching his beard with a greasy hand. Well, that's the wives' tale anyway. Try not to lollygag around here myself. The man was true to his word and had the van up and running in about half an hour. Brian almost cried, I think. He let us follow him into the city, and I almost cried when my phone started picking up service again. Finally, we pulled up to a cheap motel, which, believe it or not, is better than sleeping in the van, and I, for one, was exhausted. That was when we heard it, a soft whoof from the back of the van. Savannah, Brian, and I turned around in our seats to face Caleb, who appeared to be trying to hide something behind him. Caleb, what do you have?
Nothing. What would make you think there's anything hiding behind my back right now?
Caleb, do not make me come back there.
No, really, it's nothing. Completely insubstantial, I assure you.
Before I could respond, the thing behind Caleb's back revealed itself, bypassing right through his chest and jumping into the floor next to Brian. The ghost dog looked at Savannah and I, let out a short bark, wagging its tail. My reaction was slow. One moment I was staring dumbfounded at the dog, and then the next I was shouting incoherently, pointing in its general direction while frantically waving my other arm. Why? How? What the fuck is that thing doing here?
Well, I think it's probably because I took this.
Caleb held up a faded red collar.
It must have been what was keeping him trapped at the house.
Caleb, why would you take that with you?
I don't know, I just do things sometimes, you know that.
That doesn't mean you can just steal things from haunted houses. Or any house.
Oh, okay, well, unless you want to take it back.
Oh, fuck no, we're not going back there.
Then can't we keep him?
What?
No, absolutely not. We're not keeping a ghost dog.
But where else is he gonna go? The afterlife? He gestured towards the dog, who had a ghostly blue tongue lolling out one side of its mouth. I don't know, drop him off at the animal shelter or something? Savannah, will you please talk some sense into him? Savannah, meanwhile, was rubbing her chin, giving the dog a strange look. Well, it's not like we have to feed it or anything. Or let it out. I mean, it's dead. Caleb's face lit up, while mine sunk. Brian, what about... Brian? Brian was passed out in the seat next to the dog. Turns out he'd fainted as soon as he saw it. I pointed at our unconscious bassist. I feel like that counts as a no from him. His opinion doesn't matter even when he's awake. Just let him keep the stupid dog. I'll take good care of him. Caleb, do you remember that caterpillar you picked up and wanted to keep as a pet on the last tour? Sorta. Do you remember what happened to it? It turned into a butterfly? No, you accidentally sat on it. Oh, that caterpillar. Yeah, the one that's dead now, and also the reason you shouldn't have pets. But he's already dead. I can't make it worse. The dog yawned and laid down on the floor of the van. I'm sure there's a way. Oh, knock it off. We're keeping the dog for now. Savannah finally shut the van off and moved to get out. Let's get some sleep already. I'm beat. What? Why do you get to decide? Because I have all of our money and the keys to the van, and you don't have a lot of leverage. As she slid out of the driver's seat and into the parking lot, I opened my mouth to retort, then shut it again, climbed out of the van, and followed her into the check-in desk. The following evening, we sat inside a tiny green room at a tiny venue in some town I can't even remember the name of. There, I stared at the dead dog in the corner with mild agitation. The thing vanished every time someone other than the four of us entered the room, so at least we hadn't had to explain it to anyone else yet. The adrenaline from the night before had worn off, and I'd slept a little too well, so I was fighting the weird drowsiness that follows that, and I didn't have it in me to stay mad. So, what do we call it? Huh? The dog. What was its name? Oh. Well, the tag on the collar's so worn that I can't read it, but I was thinking of calling him Thief. Thief? Why Thief? He pointed at my hat. Well, technically you kind of came up with it. I glanced upwards and pulled the hat farther down on my head. Okay, yeah. Fitting. Just then I was struck with a flash of brilliance. Hey Savannah, you know how we were thinking of changing the band name because we found out that Bottleneck is also the name of that weird country rap group? Yeah, why? I think I have a new one. She raised an eyebrow. Go on. Don't I get any input on this? No, nobody respects you. And it's probably because you're the bassist. No. So what is it, Corey? I grinned and told her. She considered it for a moment, then nodded. Okay, let's try it out. I was smiling ear to ear as I jogged out on stage, waving to the crowd before launching into the first song in our set. After finishing it, I put up a foot on my monitor and looked out over the crowd of people occupying the small venue. Now, I know you guys might have seen a band called Bottleneck on the bill tonight, but let's be honest, most of you haven't heard of us anyway, because you're all here to see the headliners, right? A slightly hesitant, confused cheer came from the crowd. I saw some shrugs in the first few rows. Okay, that being the case, we're just going to go ahead and change the name. I took a step back, adjusting my hat. We are Stop Thief, and we're here to start this party! So that's how we got our name, I guess. Thief has been tagging along with us for a few weeks now, since Caleb won't let go of the damn collar. I guess it's not so bad. He's not too hard to take care of, seeing as he doesn't eat anything. As long as you keep him entertained, he usually won't destroy anything. Did get a hold of Brian's favorite boxers one day, though, and well, let's say that Brian doesn't have a favorite pair of boxers anymore. But ever since the incident with the abandoned house, though, we seem to have developed a habit for getting involved in some pretty strange stuff. Like, there was that thing living in the basement of that venue in Chicago. Like, I don't really know how to describe it. Like, it had, like, tentacles? Or spider legs? Might have been closer to spider legs. I actually noticed a painting on the wall of the hotel room that had a dog fighting a tentacle monster. So that'd be really cool if it's an allusion to what comes next. Anyway, there was also this band we opened for in Boise that, like, I mean, I'm not saying they were vampires, but they were definitely vampires. They refused to come out of their bus until after dark, and I saw one knock back a bottle of this weird red stuff before going on stage. It could have been ketchup, but honestly, that would have been weirder. There was also this shit with a payphone in the green room in Nebraska. Did you know they still had payphones? Neither did the venue owner. Caleb almost got talked into joining a cult in Alabama, but he bailed out as soon as he heard they didn't provide snacks at the meetings. Oh, and I'm like 90% sure that the promoter at the last place we played was a werewolf. Or maybe I'm just paranoid about hairy guys now, or maybe I'm just mad because he didn't pay us what he said he would. We were in between tours now and everyone's home, which is why I have some free time to write all this down. We're going back out next month because none of us want to ever get real jobs, and honestly, I'm getting a really bad feeling that our misadventures are far from over. And question mark? That was cute and very, very sad. I'm glad that there was no more about the dog being dead. Okay, hang on. I wonder if I can... I just realized I got no choices in this at all. Wait. I was about to say, there's no decisions in here, so I don't know how far it skips to. Okay. There, damn! Right on the money! Holy shit. Okay, that was not a tentacle monster. It looks like a T-Rex, almost. Vampires. That looks like 3 goats in the middle over there. And the mirror monster on the left. So I don't know if it's an allusion to anything else in the future or not, but that's kind of cool. So I like this. I definitely would hope that there'd be more choices if this becomes an actual series. But I do like the characters. I feel like they work together. And I would love to see how useful a dead dog is to solving a mystery. But that was Play Dead. Until the next video, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you around. Bye.